welcome to Strip Club. Good morning. My name is Daniela Stout. We're here at Cozy Quilt Shop in Rancho San Diego, and I'm here to show you another quilt that uses 2.5-inch strips. This one is called Bouquet Toss. Do you like it?
Yes.
I'm glad you do. I like it too. We have featured the Hoffman strip bundle called Splash. It just has such a bright look to it. We thought it was a terrific addition to something called Bouquet Toss. The quilt is not hard. There are two basic blocks. Do you want to see how it comes together?
Yes.
The two basic blocks are A and B. So here's block A. And here's block B. In addition to your strips, you just need background fabric. And you can see here which is the strips and which is the background fabric, right? Mm-hmm. The background blends nicely into the flannel wall, so you just have to believe it's actually there. So here we have two components to each block. One component we call the flower set, and it's the points, the middle piece, so there's 5 sections. The other component, and it's the same thing in block B, exactly the same. The other component are the 4 additional matching pieces, and in block A, they're positioned like this, and in block B, they're in the corners. And that is the only difference between the two blocks. So you make the blocks exactly the same. So the first thing you do is select your fabrics and cut them into the squares and the segments as the pattern describes. And then we're going to make our points to make the flower set. We have background squares that we've drawn a diagonal line on the back of the background. A faint diagonal line. If you don't want to draw the diagonal lines, you know if you've watched our program that one of our favorite tools is the folded corner clipper. The folded corner clipper is a terrific tool that eliminates the need to draw the lines on the back of fabrics. We love this. It's by Prairie Sky Quilting. Buy it, use it, love it like we do. But in case you don't have it, I'm going to show you how to do it without it. The pattern will say draw a faint diagonal line. Ours is not faint, but if it was faint, you wouldn't see it. Faint diagonal line on the back of a square. Then you will place the background square right sides together with a print segment like this. Be careful of the orientation of that diagonal line, because that will define your point for your flower set. You will sew a thread inside the diagonal line that you drew. And then you will flip the piece over so you get a pieced point like this. Make sure the top fabric covers up the bottom fabric all the way to the edge and it stays nice and square. Once you're confident that it's a nice square piecework, cut away the excess fabric behind and then press into place. And then you've made your point. We're going to do the same thing to make the smaller square, only this time we are going to put a background square on a print square. Again, right sides together, diagonal line as so. See how there's a print square underneath. Stitch, just a thread inside. And when I say inside, I mean towards the point. And the reason for that is when you flip this over, the thread is there. You want just a little wiggle room so that you can press the corner all the way to the edge. If you sew thread the other direction, your point won't quite go to the edge. It might come to here. Now, can you see that? Can you zoom into that? So we stitch a thread on the other side so that it accounts for the fold and the point can go all the way over. Once you feel confident that it's all the way over and you've got a nice square block, you can fold it back to where it was originally, cut off the excess fabric behind there, and then finally press into place to make your half square triangle block. You follow that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's your $10 tip to the day from Maureen. To make this block, to avoid the points from going into your sewing machine, use a single stitch throat plate. So not the one that has a zigzag, just a 1-stitch throat plate, one single hole. There's less room for that fabric to go into the throat plate of your sewing machine. Good tip. If you do that, make sure you don't use a zigzag stitch. That's your second good tip of the day. Especially for pieces like this that really start with points, it's an excellent tip. Now, if you're starting with this piece, it's always nice to start on the long edge and feed that into your sewing machine first, and then stitch to the point. That way, for the same reason, the point doesn't go into the sewing machine. Another good tip. So we've created these pieces. Make a bunch of them, right? You will need 2 together to create this point. Again, 2 to create that point. So you make a bunch of squares that look like this. Let me show you. Well, that's why we put pictures in the patterns. So 2 pieces come together with a background square to make the flower tip. You follow that? Make 4 that match. Add it with your other square. This is your flower set. And then when you go to sew your blocks together, you will put together a flower set piece, a background square here, and then one of your secondary prints there to create block A. Same concept for block B, except here, instead of a background, we put the matching print squares. A and B, simple as that. When you go to put it in your quilt, we start with A, and then we alternate with B. So it goes A, B, A, B, A, B across, and then the next row starts with B, and then goes B, A, B, A, B, A. This quilt does have sashing, and in between each sashing is cornerstones. In our sample, and the way the pattern is written, those cornerstones all come from your 2.5-inch strips. So if you'd like to add variety, you can use scraps. If you'd like to make it all the same, you can cut your own fabric. It might be interesting, just as a thought, if you buy some extra yardage of the fabric we use for border 2, and then make every cornerstone match border 2. Depends on the quilt you're making. This one we wanted scrappy, we liked it scrappy, so we made it scrappy. So block, sashing, block. The second row will be sashing, cornerstone from the strips, sashing. Sew the blocks together by rows. Then we add border 1. In our case, we've used the background fabric for border 1. And then we have border 2, this terrific blue, and then border 3, that lively outer print that I think pulls it all together. Not hard, right? Any questions? Can you picture it in another color? Yes? Good. It's been a heck of a month for us. That's all we got. All right, you're laughing. You know it's not true. I do have another sample. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Would you? Thank you. Now this particular quilt is all in blues. I don't think you need me to tell you that. Let's take 2 steps to our left. Barbara, 2 steps to our left. 1, 2, there we go. Yes, I was. The blues are actually a bundle of 20 strips instead of 40 strips. So for this particular size, you can make this size with a bundle of 20 strips, which is really nice. Well, you know most of our quilts, most of our patterns come in multiple sizes. And now, gosh, they go from everywhere from like a table runner or a wall hanging all the way up to the king, so that you can make the size that works for you, especially our strip club patterns. So with this one, it's very friendly for 20 strips. So you could make 2 out of a 40 bundle, you could buy a bundle of 20, or you could use your leftover fabrics. By the way, if you ever want to buy your own fabrics for our strip patterns, the magic number is 3 2.5-inch strips out of each quarter-yard cut. So if it takes 36 strips, how many quarter-yard cuts do you need? 12. Well done, class. So that's the magic. We're oscillating. There we go. So paparazzi on this side can see. While we oscillate and show off, any other questions? It's really that easy. I believe it's a throw. You help me, Mickey. Is it a throw? It's a throw. Okay. I got no labels on the back for this one. Really? No questions? Okay. Well, if there's no questions, I would like to, before we close, I would like to tell you something that's really exciting. I have had the privilege of designing some batik fabrics for Timeless Treasures. I'm thrilled to death. So next month's presentation will not actually be a new strip club quilt. What I would like to do is show you those fabrics and a bunch of quilts that use that fabric. Will you do that with me next month?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so stay tuned next month and we'll have a whole different presentation. We're going to call it Cabana Day. So join us for Cabana Day next month from Cozy Quilt Shop. Thanks for coming, you guys.